Hello everybody, I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. My name is Sean, or Crowstar, whichever suits you best. This channel is basically going to cover my background in witchcraft, my history in witchcraft, my current involvement, my future studies, and future involvement. And I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about myself. I am a high priest in the Correllian nativist tradition of Wicca. I have been an initiate of the tradition roughly 10 years, and I've been a practicing witch for about 20. Now my studies basically started in the local library, and my first book on the subject was Power of the Witch by Laurie Cabot. It's a very interesting read, a very powerful read, and a very excellent beginner's book if you're looking for one. For me, it was a very odd circumstance that I found the book. I was perusing through the library and I went to the metaphysical section, and I just so happened upon the book one day. Now, I'd been there many times before and never seen this book before. So I immediately checked it out and brought it home, and it probably sat in my room a good few days before I even decided to read it. And when I did, it wasn't a sense of learning. It wasn't as though I was learning something new, but remembering something old, something that was always within me. And that began my study and my practice of witchcraft. And I was a solitary, eclectic practitioner for a good 10 years before I found the Correllian tradition online via witchschool.com. And it took me, I would say, roughly a year and a half before I was eligible for my first degree initiation, which I later received at the now defunct Temple of Astrolite in Albany, New York, via a high priest and high priestess within the tradition. Years later, I received my second degree, and about a year and a half ago or so, I received my third degree as a high priest. Recently, though I remain true to my Correllian background and initiations and my oaths taken during those initiations, through study of my family ancestry, and the only background information that I can really verify is that on my mother's side is Italian, and I was able to trace that my family originated in Calabria, Italy, southern Italy, which is basically the home of Stregheria, which is Italian witchcraft. And that reignited an old interest of mine, which is Italian witchcraft and Stregheria. And so I repurchased 2 Raven Grimassia books, which I had purchased a while ago and never even bothered reading, and then I donated to my original Correllian coven. The first book is Italian Witchcraft, which used to be titled Way of the Strega, and the second is Hereditary Witchcraft. Both books are excellent sources for information on Stregheria. And again, it doesn't feel like I'm learning something new, but rather reclaiming that which is already a part of me and something that's already within my blood and my ancestry. And I remember from many a story from my mother when she was alive of things that her grandmother would do, and her mother's affinity for animals and healing animals and bringing them in wild and domesticated when they were sick or ailing, and doing her best to nurse them back to health and release them. Now, mind you, her grandfather, my great-grandfather, is straight from Calabria, Italy, as was his wife. And my mother would often tell me of her praying to a statue of Mary with tons of candles. Which, okay, is not uncommon in Catholicism, especially originating out of Italy. But I've done a lot of research, and the Stregheria who adopted the Christian Catholic saints did so as a cover for the old Italian witchcraft gods and goddesses. And it was commonplace to pray to the Virgin Mary, to the saints, instead of using the names of the old gods. And my grandmother, my great-grandmother rather, would do this very often. And I always felt in my heart. Now, I learned this information while I was pretty well established as a witch. And I always felt in my heart that there was something more to it. And so, I pressed my mother, but she never really had very definitive answers for any of it, which is understandable. She was never directly taught. She was raised Catholic. But my mother exhibited abilities, if you will. Once she became comfortable with me being a witch, I did do meditations and rituals and readings for her. And I can honestly say that she had within her a lot of ability, which she left untapped, unacknowledged, and unrecognized. So I'd like to believe at some level, and I'm sure it's true, that within my Italian heritage there is Stregheria in my blood. And so, while I am a Correllian high priest, and I do respect my practices as a Correllian, I have started my journey into Stregheria. Basically via Raven Grimassi's book and the Iridian tradition, which is a tradition based on self-dedication. It is an outer court tradition. There is no formal initiation into it. And part of me likes it that way. I've already received formal traditional initiations, and they're great and all, but there's nothing like the connection between you and the gods directly. And I performed my self-dedication via the ritual in Italian Witchcraft by Raven Grimassi on a full moon recently on my property, and I can honestly say it was one of the most profound and magical experiences of my life. I have never, I don't think, ever found or felt such a great connection to the goddess. And the energy and power that I felt that night was just astounding. It was really amazing. And while I'm not going to share every detail of the ritual with you, I will say, as per the ritual, I was granted favor by Diana. And so, along with Aradia, I have taken her as a patron goddess. And I can honestly say, for the first time in many years of practicing, and this might be shocking to some, but anyone who has years under their belt knows that sometimes you stagnate in the practice, and sometimes you get complacent, and you reach a level to where you think there's really no more study for you. There's nothing else out there, especially in the modern Wicca witchcraft movement, where all the books are basically carbon copies, and there's no new information out there. But I feel a renewed sense of being as a witch, a new connection, a new purpose. And I am making it my current goal to learn the ways of the Iridian tradition as put forward by Raven Grimassi, and explore Strigeria and my roots within it. Now, it's going to be a slow-going process, and I hope to document as much as I can, as often as I can, via videos on my channel. And, you know, general Wiccan topics of videos. Rituals, if I can record them and I feel comfortable posting them. You know, it's basically going to be a channel expressing my religious practice, my religious views, my religious beliefs, my mindset, and what I've come to know as a witch after being a practicing witch for 20 years. And that's a good majority of my life. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this first intro video at that. I would like to hear from anybody who has questions or comments, or is interested or local to my to northern New Jersey. Would be especially great. From anywhere around the world and country would be you know, fantastic. I love to network. I love to make friends, and I would really ideally like to make some friends who are Strigerian. Maybe come in contact with a local group, if I can, to learn more hands-on ways and traditional practices not set forth in Grimassi's books, which he flat out says does not portray everything there is about Strigeria. I actually just finished, I don't know if you can see it, I'm at the local park by the river, and I just performed the empowerment and blessing ritual for my Nantabag. For those of you who don't know what a Nantabag is, it's basically a pouch or a bundle in the form of a necklace or a pouch that can be carried on your person with portable ritual tools and representations of the elements. And while I'm not going to show you mine because I just feel it's a little bit too personal at this point, I did just perform the blessing and empowerment ritual, and it was very magical, especially in this setting. I used to come to this river as a child with my brother and alone and play here and commune with nature, and I've done some spells and rituals here before. Not very many because it is a public park. But actually, before I was ever initiated into a tradition, not too far down the river is where I performed my dedication into Wicca and witchcraft, my self-dedication, many moons ago. It was a very fond moment, a very empowering moment, and one I will always treasure, especially at this location. So with that, I'm going to get going. Meditate some more, make some offerings, as I did collect some river water for ritual use and spell work. So I do need to make my thanks and offering to the land spirits, to the goddess and god. And after that, I will go home and upload this, hopefully. Wish me success, because I've never uploaded anything to YouTube before. So, grant me some grace on my errors and my babbling, and hopefully I get this video up. So, I'm going to leave you with a little tidbit of wisdom. If you're new to the path, it can be very intimidating. Don't give up. There's lots of information and resources out there, and you have to be critical and scrutinize what you find, especially in books and on the internet. Witchcraft is a nature religion. It is about self-truth and self-discovery, self-empowerment, and magic from within and within nature. Don't rely on books or websites. Don't rely on what others tell you. Immerse yourself in magic as often as you can, as much as possible. Do what feels natural to you. Do what's within your heart. Find the magic within and within nature. Immerse yourself in nature as often as possible. And rely on your self-discovery and the truths that you come to know from within. And honor those above all, even if you later become an initiate of a tradition. Always remember your roots from where you started and your personal experiences within the craft. If you're a seasoned witch, the same holds true. Don't become complacent. Always strive to learn and discover more. And the most prominent and most powerful teacher is the god and goddess, is nature. Nature is our teacher. It is the mode through which the goddess and god teaches and empowers. And I encourage every witch, new and old, to rediscover this about themselves and the ways, because so many people have forgotten that connection. So I will part now, and wish you blessed be. Until next time, love to you all.